May 10, I asked Professor Nemer about it, and he insists that I'm an innocent bystander and there's no reason for me to become involved in what would be an unpleasant situation. The fact that I've been used as a go-between doesn't seem to bother him at all. If I didn't understand what was happening at the time, he says, then it doesn't matter. I'm no more to blame than the knife is to blame in a stabbing or the car in a collision. But I'm not an inanimate object, I argued. I am a person. He looked confused for a moment and then laughed. Of course, Charlie, but I wasn't referring to now. I meant before the operation. Smug, pompous. I felt like hitting him too. I was a person before the operation, in case you forgot. Yes, of course, Charlie. Don't misunderstand, but it was different. And then he remembered that he had to check on some charts in the lab. Dr. Strauss doesn't talk much during our psychotherapy sessions, but today, when I brought it up, he said that I was morally obligated to tell Mr. Donner. But the more I thought about it, the less simple it became. I had to have someone else to break the tie, and the only one I could think of was Alice. Finally, at 10:30, I couldn't hold out any longer. I dialed 3 times, broke off in the middle each time. But on the 4th try I managed to hold on until her voice. At first, she didn't think she should see me, but I begged her to meet me at the cafeteria where we had dinner together. I respect you. You've always given me good advice. And when she still wavered, I insisted. You have to help me. You're partly responsible. You said so yourself. If not for you, I would never have gone into this in the first place. You just can't shrug me off now. She must have sensed the urgency because she agreed to meet me. I hung up and stared at the phone. Why was it so important for me to know what she thought, how she felt? For more than a year at the adult center, the only thing that mattered was pleasing her. Was that why I had agreed to the operation in the first place? I paced up and back in front of the cafeteria until the policeman began to eye me suspiciously. Then I went in and bought coffee. Fortunately, the table we had used last time was empty. She would think of looking for me back there. She saw me and waved to me, but stopped at the counter for coffee before she came over to the table. She smiled, and I knew it was because I had chosen the same table. A foolish, romantic gesture. I know it is late, I apologized, but I swear I was going out of my mind. I had to talk to you. She sipped her coffee and listened quietly as I explained how I had found out about Gimpy's cheating, my own reaction, and the conflicting advice I'd gotten at the lab. When I finished, she sat back and shook her head. "Charlie, you amaze me. In some ways you're so advanced, and yet when it comes to making a decision, you're still a child. I can't decide for you, Charlie. The answer can't be found in books, or be solved by bringing it to other people. Not unless you want to remain a child all your life. You've got to find the answer inside you. Feel the right thing to do. Charlie, you've got to learn to trust yourself." At first I was annoyed at her lecture, but then suddenly it began to make sense. "You mean I've got to decide?" She nodded. "In fact," I said, "now that I think of it, I believe I've already decided some of it. I think Nemur and Strauss are both wrong." She was watching me closely, excitedly. "Something is happening to you, Charlie. If you could only see your face." "You're damned right. Something is happening." A cloud of smoke was hanging in front of my eyes, and in one breath you blew it away. A simple idea. Trust myself. And it never occurred to me before. "Charlie, you're wonderful." I caught her hand and held it. "No, it's you. You touch my eyes and make me see." She blushed and pulled her hand back. "The last time we were here," I said, "I told you I liked you. I should have trusted myself to say, 'I love you.'" "Don't, Charlie, not yet." "Not yet?" I shouted. "That's what you said last time. Why not yet?" "Shh! Wait a while, Charlie. Finish your studies. See where they lead you. You're changing too fast." "What does that have to do with it? My feeling for you won't change because I'm becoming intelligent. I'll only love you more." "But you're changing emotionally too. In a peculiar sense, I'm the first woman you've ever been really aware of. In this way, up to now, I've been your teacher, someone you turn to for help and advice. You're bound to think you're in love with me. See other women. Give yourself more time." "What you're saying is that young boys are always falling in love with their teachers, and that emotionally I'm still just a boy." "You're twisting my words around. No, I don't think of you as a boy." "Emotionally retarded, then?" "No." "Then why?" "Charlie, don't push me. I don't know. Already you've gone beyond my intellectual reach. In a few months or even weeks, you'll be a different person. When you mature intellectually, we may not be able to communicate. When you mature emotionally, you may not even want me. I've got to think of myself too, Charlie." Let's wait and see. Be patient." She was making sense, but I wasn't letting myself listen. "The other night," I choked out, "you don't know how much I looked forward to that date. I was out of my mind, wondering how to behave, what to say, wanting to make the best impression, and terrified I might say something to make you angry." "You didn't make me angry. I was flattered." "Then when can I see you again?" "I have no right to let you get involved." "But I am involved," I shouted, and then, seeing people turn to look, I lowered my voice until it trembled with anger. "I am a person, a man, and I can't live with just books and tapes and electronic mazes. You say, see other women. How can I when I don't know any other women? Something inside is burning me up, and all I know is it makes me think of you. I'm in the middle of a page and I see your face on it. Not blurred like those in my past, but clear and alive. I touch the page and your face is gone, and I want to tear the book apart and throw it away." "Please, Charlie." "Tomorrow at the lab." "You know that's not what I mean. Away from the lab, away from the university, alone." I could tell she wanted to say yes. She was surprised by my insistence. I was surprised at myself. I only knew that I couldn't stop pressing her, and yet there was a terror in my throat as I begged her. My palms were damp. Was I afraid she'd say no, or afraid she'd say yes? If she hadn't broken the tension by answering me, I think I would have fainted. "All right, Charlie, away from the lab and the university, but not alone. I don't think we should be alone together." "Anywhere you say," I gasped. "Just so I can be with you and not think of tests, statistics, questions, answers." She frowned for a moment. "All right. They have free spring concerts in the Central Park. Next week you can take me to one of the concerts." When we got to her doorway, she turned quickly and kissed my cheek. "Good night, Charlie. I'm glad you called me. I'll see you at the lab." She closed the door and I stood outside the building and looked at the light in her apartment window until it went out. There is no question about it now. I am in love. May 11. After all this thinking and worrying, I realized Alice was right. I had to trust my intuition. At the bakery, I watched Gimpy more closely. 3 times today, I saw him undercharging customers and pocketing his portion of the difference as the customers passed money back to him. It was only with certain regular customers that he did it, and it occurred to me that these people were as guilty as he. Without their agreement, this could never take place. Why should Gimpy be the scapegoat? That's when I decided on the compromise. It might not be the perfect decision, but it was my decision, and it seemed to be the best answer under the circumstances. I would tell Gimpy what I knew and warn him to stop. I got him alone back by the washroom, and when I came up to him, he started away. "I've got something important to talk to you about," I said. "I want your advice for a friend who has a problem. He's discovered that one of his fellow employees is cheating his boss, and he doesn't know what to do about it. He doesn't like the idea of informing and getting the guy into trouble, but he won't stand by and let his boss, who has been good to both of them, be cheated." Gimpy looked at me hard. "What does this friend of yours plan to do about it?" "That's the trouble. He doesn't want to do anything. He feels if the stealing stops, there would be nothing gained by doing anything at all. He would forget about it." "Your friend ought to keep his nose in his own business," said Gimpy, shifting off his clubfoot. "He ought to keep his eyes closed to things like that and know who his friends are. A boss is a boss, and working people got to stick together. My friend doesn't feel that way. It's none of his business. He feels that if he knows about it, he's partly responsible. So he decided that if the thing stops, he's got nothing more to say. Otherwise, he'll tell the whole story. I wanted to ask your opinion. Do you think that under the circumstances the stealing will stop?" It was a strain for him to conceal his anger. I could see that he wanted to hit me, but he just kept squeezing his fist. "Tell your friend the guy doesn't seem to have any choice." "That's fine," I said. "That will make my friend very happy." Gimpy started away, and then he paused and looked back. "Your friend, could it be maybe he's interested in a cat? Is that his reason?" "No, he just wants the whole thing to stop." He glared at me. "I can tell you, you'll be sorry you stuck your nose in. I always stood up for you. I should have had my head examined." And then he limped off. Perhaps I ought to have told Donner the whole story and had Gimpy fired. I don't know. Doing it this way has something to be said for it. It's over and done with. But how many people are there like Gimpy who use other people that way?